In these uncertain economic times, it's easy to be worried about protecting your wealth, your hard-earned savings, and your family's financial future. Plunging interest rates, the devaluating dollar, and political unrest constantly threaten what you have worked hard to earn and all that you own. That's why now it's more important than ever to protect your assets and have the money you need to make your dreams come true. Welcome to the Global Wealth Fortress Report with successful global entrepreneur and wealth preservation expert Joel Nagel. Joel's helped thousands of people just like you protect what you have so that you can make even more and make your every dream come true. So, sit back and enjoy Joel Nagel's offshore expert advice on how you can live the good life at a great price, where the sun never sets on your financial fortress.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Global Wealth Fortress Report. I'm Joel Nagel. Unfortunately, our co-host Carter Karib Clues could not be with us today. He's a little bit under the weather, but he asked me if I would speak to you a little bit about asset protection. He was very curious to know about asset protection for people at different income and asset levels, right? We know that folks at the highest end of the spectrum have a lot of options, and I'll talk about those. But what about the people that are more middle class or, don't have a lot of assets? From my perspective, asset protection is equally as important, if not more important, for those folks. You have retirees and people that know that if they lose their assets, there's really no way they're going to get them back. They don't have the time to go out and earn them again. So they're very concerned about asset protection. So if you go to my website, nagellaw.com, you'll see there's a white paper you can sign up for. It's called 15 Global Strategies to Protect Your Wealth. And we try in that white paper to look at everything from very low cost solutions all the way up to the most complex. It's not exhaustive. It's really just to get you to think about asset protection and some of the things that might be relevant for you. When clients engage our firm, the 15 solutions, the 15 strategies to protect your wealth, it's sort of the starting point. We try to see which ones are relevant, and then we go into obviously a lot more detail depending on your specific circumstances. And let me just say there again, before I jump into the content, that you shouldn't look at information on my website or anybody's website, quite honestly, as legal advice, right? These are things for you to think about. They're for educational purposes, but you really need to talk to your lawyer, accountant, CPA, tax advisor before you jump into any of the strategies that I mentioned. So back to the 15 global strategies. At the lowest end, we really talk about things that cost little or no money. Opening up a foreign bank account, for example, that doesn't cost any money, or if it does, it's a nominal amount of money. And why is opening a foreign bank account an asset protection strategy? Well, it's very clear. It's very simple. Putting some of your assets outside of your home jurisdiction in another jurisdiction with different laws is advantageous. If somebody were to sue you and take all of your assets, having some money overseas, I won't say it's impossible for a plaintiff to get those assets, but it'll be very, very difficult. They won't be the low-hanging fruit. They're not going to be able to have a U.S. judge issue a freeze order on the account, anything like that. So having a foreign bank account is very important. Some clients open up foreign bank accounts and they just put a nominal amount of money in the account to open it. They don't even really fund it. They just have it there, because it's always better to have an account and not need it than need an account and not have it. That's a pretty simple and straightforward item. Another thing is, metals. Again, precious metals have been in existence. They've been used as a source of funds for 5,000 years. And, having some gold coins, silver coins, something like that, having those, whether you just store them in your basement or you put them in a safety deposit box, keeping them out of the the public system where people are going to be able to grab them, freeze them, take them. That is something else that I strongly believe in. Everybody should have some small amount. If you have modest means, you can buy, for example, pre-1964 coins, quarters, dimes, half dollars, silver dollars. They refer to them as junk silver because they're not pure silver. They're 90% silver, but they serve that purpose. I saw a great sign the other day. It was at a gas station, and it said gasoline, 25 cents a gallon for people paying in pre-1964 silver coins. So what they were really saying, they were really pointing out the destruction that's been happening to our monetary system, right? I mean, I'm in California right now, and gasoline is $5 a gallon, but silver is over $20 an ounce. So a quarter of $20 is $5. So a gas station was willing to take a pre-1964 silver quarter. And I think even for people with more means, having access to that type of precious metal, silver in that form, makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, you could have all the money in the world, but do you really want to exchange a gold bar for a gallon of gas or a loaf of bread? No, I think not. If times get really tough, you'll be happy you have those. And again, they're not something they have to spend a lot of money to lock up in vaults somewhere. A lot of people, you can buy them. They ship them to you in these bags. They weigh like 20, 30 pounds, and you can basically put it in your basement. It looks like a doorstop. Nobody's going to bother it because it's kind of heavy. But again, it's a good thing to have. So we talked about bank accounts. We talked about silver. I mentioned one other thing at the lower end of the spectrum, and that's real estate. Now, obviously, real estate can be any amount. You could spend millions of dollars on real estate, but there's real estate that you can buy in a lot of the countries that people look at for investing in retirement. You might be able to buy a little lot somewhere for $20,000, $30,000. Again, why is that important? Well, a couple of reasons. One, it's an asset outside the United States. Two, it's not pegged to the dollar. So if the dollar goes over a cliff, real estate will generally hold its value. That's been proven time and time again in places like Argentina and Brazil, where they've seen even Colombia and Venezuela. Venezuela is a great example. The monetary system of Venezuela has been absolutely destroyed. Inflation is running at thousands of percents, and the money has been completely debased and devalued to the point where it's truly worthless. It's like 1922 Germany. So, but even still in those countries, you have an asset in real estate. If you want to sell it, you're not going to accept local currency. You're going to demand dollars or gold or something like that as payment. So real estate is truly a great way to hold value. And for those three things I just mentioned, you don't need a fancy legal structure. You don't really need, you don't need to have a lot of money. As we move up the spectrum, people start thinking about making other types of investments abroad, and then the right kind of legal structure to hold those investments. And so generally when I start talking to people that have, several $100,000 up to $1 million, we start talking a little bit about corporate formations, things like LLCs. A lot of people want to use an LLC to move their IRA offshore. Many people don't know that you can move your IRA offshore. It's perfectly legal, moral, ethical, but there's the right way to do it. And so LLCs are a great way that you can create in conjunction with your foreign bank account. You can create a corporate structure. You can move some or all of your retirement assets into that structure, and then you can use it there for investments. It's much better protected because again, it's offshore. As another reason why people like corporate structures is it starts to change the identity of the underlying investor from you, a U.S. person, to the citizenship or nationality of the company, of the foundation, of the trust. Why is that important? Well, a lot of foreign investments are closed to U.S. persons, meaning they don't allow an American citizen to invest, but they may allow a LLC from Nevis, a Panamanian foundation, a company in Belize. They allow those types of structures to make investments. So that's really when we start getting in that range, a couple $100,000 up to $1 million. Once we get over $1 million, the playbook starts expanding quite a bit. And one of the things that is always in the center of everything when it comes to asset protection are trusts. And why is the trust important? Well, trusts have been around for over 1,000 years, going back to the Middle Ages. And the general concept of a trust is that is a separate, distinct legal person. And unlike a company where you can have a foreign company, but there's an owner to the company, meaning you, the U.S. person shareholder, right? You're always going to be the shareholder. So there's always this link back to a U.S. person. With a trust, that's not the case. Why? Because English common law 1,000 years ago said that a trust was a distinct, separate legal person. And neither the grantor nor the beneficiary nor the trustee, none of those folks involved with the trust determine the legal nature of the trust. It's the creation of the trust, where it's set up, and where it's registered. So if I create a trust for you in the Cook Islands, for example, then Cook Islands is going to have jurisdiction over that trust. And if somebody wants to sue you and go after those assets, they're going to have to do it in the Cook Islands or Belize or Panama or Liechtenstein or wherever the trust is created. And those types of jurisdictions have very, very friendly laws when it comes to people who create the structures, and very unfriendly laws for people who are attacking them, trying to go after the assets. So when it comes to asset protection, generational wealth planning, you want to put funds aside for your children, for your grandchildren, a trust is really one of the best ways to do it. Now, obviously, on this short video, we haven't had time to talk about all the rest. I hope you'll sign up for my 15 global strategies to protect your wealth and go into more of the details. If you'd like to reach out to my firm, you can. The information is there on the video and through my website. We'd be glad to talk to you about how we can help you with this type of planning. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I know next week I'll be back with Carter. I'm going to be coming to you from Switzerland, which is really one of the top asset protection jurisdictions. It's the middle of winter, so I'm hoping that I won't be too inundated with snow, but it should be a nice time of year to be in Switzerland. And we'll talk about some of the advantages to asset protection in Switzerland. So until next time, I want to thank you. I want to wish you health, wealth, and happiness. And thank you for joining the show today. Goodbye.